everyone. Welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
I heard that you have a new hobby.
I do. I'm pretty
What
fired
is
up
it?
about it. I am making sourdough bread, sourdough muffins, sourdough crackers, sourdough cinnamon rolls, you name it. Everyone I know within a 10-mile radius is getting
Has
sourdough something.
So you got like your baker hat on, you got flour all over the kitchen.
It's so true. Mitch has just had it because every surface, every handle has just a little bit of flour or something on it. Because sourdough, by the way, thanks for asking. Sourdough is very sticky. It's super sticky.
So I just remember sourdough was kind of like a big COVID thing. Like
Yeah.
everyone during COVID was
Yeah.
like getting super into making sourdough bread for some reason. But
Yeah. Do you know why?
why? No.
Well, I'd be happy to share it with you because I've been doing a very deep dive on this whole topic.
Okay.
Sourdough became a huge deal during the pandemic because we were in a yeast shortage. We could not get yeast in the grocery stores. And
Okay, but
bread
so you
needs
need-
yeast.
Yeah, that's how you make it. It's like flour, water, yeast.
Yeah, and yeast, except sourdough. So sourdough, all right, let me just give you, this
Yeah.
is my new hobby. So let me just
School me
indulge me. Okay, yeah. So sourdough, as a general, you have to have a starter, okay? And this is a very difficult thing to figure out how to do. Now, it sounds very simple. You basically put flour and water together in a glass jar. And then every day, you take part of it out, discard it, and then add a little more flour and water until it becomes, air quotes, alive. Okay? And what it's actually doing
Where does the alive come from?
from all of the yeast that is in the air. So sourdough takes quite some time to generate a starter. Once the starter is active, they call it alive. And you actually get to name your starter once it's active. Mine's name is Phyllis.
Well,
Yeah, and it takes 5 to 7 to 10, maybe even 2 weeks to get a starter going. And it's very learning how to do all this has been incredibly difficult and technical.
but like pulls the yeast out of
the air.
Out of the air. That's crazy.
I know. And not only that, but as you might imagine, cultures grow in warmer temperatures. So if you try to build a starter at room temperature or cooler, then it may not actually even work. So it needs a little warmer temperatures. So I was just running through my house trying to find the warmest places.
What? The Albers house is 85 degrees all the time now.
Yeah, everybody's in swimsuits in January, and there I am with my beautiful Phyllis, the sourdough starter. Yeah, so this is my new hobby, and I realize I am freakishly into hobbies when I get into it. Oh my gosh, I just go all in, right? And I am so all in with this, I can't even tell you.
Well,
You would have gotten about 72 loaves by now, but you are gluten intolerant, so you can't.
yeah, thank you for
Pretty
keeping
sad
your
about that.
bread poison away from me. Well,
I'm telling Phyllis you
You're-
said that.
Wow. Well, good morning.
Hi.
You're very excited about.
Oh, I know. I'm
What-
so into it.
I
Oh my
was-
gosh.
I was trying to do that Minnesota thing where I just passively ask you a nice question. I wasn't ready for like an explosion of excitement.
An explosion of sourdough. I know, it's like my friend Fiona from the UK always says, when people ask you how they are, they don't actually mean it. Or how you are.
Yeah.
But they don't actually want to know.
Well,
Oh,
okay, let's
so
let's
I
talk
want to
about
talk
your
about
hobby.
I want to talk about hobbies. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I was sort of reflecting on this, when we were talking about this, because I do recognize I sound like an absolute freak right now. Because the thing is that anybody that passes by and
Well,
just happens to get eye contact with me, next
yeah.
thing you know, they're either getting stuffed in their hand a football of bread or they're hearing all about it.
People at the park, people in the grocery. You're just like one of those ladies that's like standing in the baking aisle at the grocery store, just
Waiting.
waiting for someone to pass by
Yes.
so you can talk to them about bread.
Yes, exactly. What a freak. I admit I am being a real freak about
Just
this.
like
I
it's like
admit it.
as slow as possible, getting the bag of flour into your cart just in case you could snare another poor victim into your
King
into
Arthur's.
your
You need to use
hobby.
King Arthur flour, people. If anybody's interested in making sourdough, it needs to be King Arthur. It's a great brand and it's the right percent. Okay, and we're back.
Well, the awesome thing about hobbies is you can be super passionate about them, and it's really, really fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And you know what I was reflecting on, though? This is kind of interesting. So, anyone that knows me and has known me for more than a few years knows that I filter through hobbies like crazy.
Mm,
But when I'm into them, I'm so all
yeah,
in. It is ridiculous, right?
yeah.
And I have gone through so many iterations. So, like, that's my way of being in a
Mm,
hobby. But your way of being in a hobby is totally different. As I was thinking about this, is like
mm,
you do pick up hobbies here and there, but generally speaking, you have like core hobbies that you've kept for years. It's
yeah.
very different.
So one of the problems with my hobbies, as I've been thinking about, is
Uh-huh.
that they are additive. I add a hobby. I don't
Uh,
ever remove a hobby. So
Oh,
it just becomes
yeah.
more and more hobbies.
Hobbies.
Actually, that's not totally true because I
No.
actually used to be super, super into woodworking. I mean, I have like an
Oh,
entire wood shop in my
you
garage.
do?
Like,
I
oh
never
yeah,
knew
table saw,
that.
bandsaws, sanders, planers, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, because even before we had kids, I like would build furniture. I mean, I built our
Huh.
bedroom set. I built our kids' cribs and beds and everything.
Wow.
Um, so
That's
yeah,
so
kind of
cool. I
into
never
like
knew that.
more like fine woodworking or furniture building. Um,
Yeah. Huh.
and I don't do that anymore. That hobby
Wow.
had to stop to make room for other hobbies, but I definitely do keep hobbies for a very long time.
Yeah, you do. You do. And you build off of them and you get to express them in a lot of different things. Like, let me just, you know what, for your entertainment,
Okay.
let me
For
just
my
tell you,
entertainment.
yes,
Are
for
you
your
gonna tell me my
humor.
hobbies?
No, I'm going
No,
to tell you
okay.
mine and you're going to
Okay.
think it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
let's
Okay.
go. I'd like to
Okay.
hear it.
Yeah. So for a while, I made paper, right?
Hmm.
There's different ways and that you can make paper to make different kinds of fiber. And, back in the
Like an
80s,
pulp and
yep.
like wringing it
Yes.
out and the whole thing.
Uh-huh, exactly
Okay.
right. You're
Sounds
pulling stuff
messy.
from your dryer lint container so that you could get different
Oh,
textures of
no
paper.
way.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Way in.
I'm
Way in.
all in.
Yeah.
And hundreds of dollars and huge boxes full of stuff. So whenever I
Uh-huh.
do a hobby, it's never just a little bit, let's dabble. Nope, it's all in. So paper making that. Oh, and then you could press flowers into it. Like,
Mm.
back in the 80s, that was like the cool thing, right? Where you could get like textured paper with beautiful dried
Mm-hmm.
flowers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I still find chunks of this all over my world
All
sometimes.
right.
Okay, that's one. Then I went through this is going to get funny because it just goes on and on. Then I went into the make my own pillow stage. Okay.
Mm.
So I bought pillow forms and I bought beautiful material and I bought rubber stamps that you would iron. You would put a rubber stamp on this fabric and you'd put
Mm-hmm.
an iron on top and it would burn through the fabric so that it created just a smooth surface of whatever stamp shape it was.
Hmm.
And it was you would burn it onto velvet. So I made velvet pillows. Oh my gosh. And now the stuff I make is like more high level. It's not crafty stuff. It's like ridiculous hobby,
Yeah, because you said
expensive
something
stuff.
like you got a form, a pillow form. Like, I know what it's like. These are like jigs and rigs and equipment.
Oh my gosh.
So,
And I found this Oh, I found there's a warehouse in northern Minneapolis called S.R. Harris, and he has 2 football fields full of different kinds of fabric. And he's just kind of a surly guy. I don't even know if he's still there, but he was then. And I'd go and spend hours while my kids ran in laps around this place. Okay. Anyway, so everyone I know got pillows, right? Every single color, every size you can imagine. That was my other one. Okay, then I went into bead making. I made everything beads. I spent thousands of dollars on all kinds of jewelry equipment and beading and, like whatever, beautiful 14 karat gold clasps. And then that wasn't enough. I did that for a couple of years, but then that wasn't enough. And then I was like, you know what? I want to make my own glass beads. So I got a glass blower.
What?
I did. Yep. And turns out you have to have a gas tank to make blown glass. Yeah. So so I had all of that stuff. What else have I done? Oh, then I was into knitting. So I had a few years of knitting. I made so many things knitting, but most of them were hats and scarves because I was too scared to venture into things with sleeves or heels. So knitting was another. Then I went through the year of the polar fleece. So I sewed polar fleece, everything, jackets, vests, hats, mittens. Oh, everything, the years of the polar fleece. So now I'm into sourdough. But at least it's a little more useful because you can eat it and not have to store a bunch of stuff. What a freak, right? Oh.
Yeah, well, I kind of, I fear for Phyllis when you catch the whim of another hobby and you just disregard her.
This is what's so great about Phyllis is you can throw that stuff in the fridge and it can sit for a couple of weeks and it's totally fine. It goes dormant. She goes dormant.
Well, so why do you think you go through so many hobbies? Is this like an attention span problem?
It might be.
Here?
Well, and the thing is like these hobbies that I go into are, the stuff I do, it takes a lot of learning to get to the stage where you can even create something.
So that's my question. Like, what about hobbies, like, do you like? I mean, you obviously like a variety of things, of activities, but like, why do you like these hobbies?
I find them very, very soothing. My mom is an artist, and another hobby we went through together was making model homes. Like how you can buy model airplanes or model cars. There were houses. There was a whole section of houses that you could make. And so my mom and I, for a couple of years, we did that. We made miniatures. And the reason I tell you that is because we used to call it thinking small. And so when I was stressed out or I had too much going on or I needed to relax, that was a way to single focus my energy in one thing. And we called it thinking small. And it actually really soothed me. And I still think there's a lot to that art of creation, something specific like that I find very soothing and fun. So, I love it. I love to see the creation of it.
For you, like doing these hobbies and doing this crafting and different things is like a stress relief thing.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Why do you do it? Like, yours is a little different.
Well,
like, you fly an airplane. That's a hobby. You climb big piles of rocks that you could fall off of.
Yeah.
As a hobby.
My hobby seems to be wrapped around thrill a little bit.
Well,
thrill and
maybe
learning.
So. Learning.
My hobbies, the reason I seem to or in the past maybe 10 or 15 years, my hobbies definitely seem to be a little bit around maybe thrill seeking. They also are hobbies where you're this is crazy. You're not allowed to think about other things except for the thing you're doing, or else you'll die.
Yeah. Oh my God, JJ.
So it's sort of like a forced in the moment kind of orientation.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah.
So
I mean, I
it's
don't
a
think that
lot like
happens with sourdough.
it's a lot like sourdough.
Isn't it funny how people choose hobbies and why? This is super interesting to think about. I just
Yeah.
think
So
that's interesting.
uh things I like about hobbies, and
Yeah.
and things I like about my hobbies, and I think that probably just generally about hobbies is like they're kind of like a really good escape from maybe like
Yeah.
your day to day. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, you know, work sometimes just a grind, family is sometimes just a grind, and I can go
Yeah.
do this other little thing kind of in my own little world that
Yeah.
gives
Yeah.
me like self satisfaction or pride or takes my mind off things like um uh,
Yeah.
things that don't impose a mortal danger that I like to do is
Oh my
puzzles. I
God.
really like puzzles.
Oh, I do
Like
too. I
just sitting
love
down and doing a
puzzles.
puzzle, right? So like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I
you
do
know,
too.
um,
You're thinking
so
small.
that's
You have to
helpful.
focus.
Yeah, very
Y-
focused. Yeah. But again, that kind of goes back to a little bit of my core reason why I do hobbies is this idea around focus and being more in the
Mm,
moment.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree with you.
the other thing I like about hobbies, um, is it like makes you interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Unless
from
you're
like an
Melissa Albers. I mean, how many people want to hear about sourdough
well,
discard
it is
for 10
interesting.
minutes?
Yeah, well, a limit, but um,
But
I mean,
yeah, you're
like
right.
your
Yeah.
hobbies are kind of like what make you uniquely you.
Dynamic, more
Yeah,
dynamic. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
And I find like there's a really interesting thing like at work where some people are a little bit more kind of like reserved around what they
Mm-hmm.
share about themselves at work, and some are way more gregarious about it.
Yeah.
Um, but in this world of like remote work,
Mm-hmm.
like we've actually done some things where um like our leadership team like will purposely stage like our backdrop in our home offices with our hobbies. Like one guy, like Eric, super into music, and he actually one day like was rearranging his office, and he hung his guitars behind him
Mm.
as kind of like, hey, this
I
is
have a
kind
coaching
of like
client that does that.
a visual, right? And
Hmm.
I tell you, in a business situation,
Yeah.
the idea that other people on the call get this hint that Eric is into music
Hmm.
creates amazing conversation, which actually builds more trust, builds more rapport, has like huge business benefit.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's just all based on Eric's personal hobby, right?
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah.
me. If someone wants to talk about, flying or adventuring around, those are great ways to build rapport with other people.
Yeah. And to break the ice too. Like
Hmm.
even, yeah, just being able to talk about something other than the topic at hand, which might not be very comfortable or it might be very starchy,
Yep.
Notice how I just brought in starch. Just checking.
So there's like a huge personal identity thing
Yeah.
to hobbies, because when you think
Hmm.
about some of your friends, a lot of times I don't think of my friends as much of their occupation as I do
Mm.
as
Their
their
interests.
interests and their hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I was just reflecting like one of the other things that I still love and still do is fly fishing. Like I
Mm.
love to do that. And I yearn to go do that when I haven't done that. Like,
Hmm.
we're in the season now where the spring runoff and all of those kinds of things. I get really fired up about doing that. And the other thing I think that a hobby has afforded me is relationships with those that are into the same
Mm.
hobbies,
All right,
where it's
that's
helped
exactly
me
what I was
really
just.
grow.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. I was like, as an
Yeah.
adult, it's really hard to make new friends.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you get into a stage of life, and especially like, for a while, you maybe have got like, I don't know, carry forward friends from high school
Hmm.
or from
Right.
college. Then you get into
Right.
this, like if you have kids, then you kind of like your friend group starts
Right.
getting kind of wrapped around like school, and like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, my friend is now the co-chair of the PTA with me, like kind of
Right.
buddy around with
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
the other parents at school. But then you kind of get to a point where you're like, how
Hmm.
do I actually make new friends?
Yeah. Because there's
Because
not a
now,
natural throw together of a bunch of humans.
And hobbies are such an amazing way to do that. I've made a whole bunch of friends, like, I mean, that I even travel with now and go do things with through like
Same.
tennis is one of my hobbies. So
Yeah.
meeting people on the tennis court, and those just turn into friendships over a period of time. And now I got new tennis friends.
Yeah. And I've met several women anglers that are so fun. As a matter of fact, one is coming with her new baby and husband to spend a few days with us, and they're from out of state. And that was 100% met on a fly fishing trip, you know? So yeah, there's just really interesting ways that people can bond together through like-minded or like interests that are occurring.
Yep. And even connecting with people like on the internet, right? I'm sure the internet is full of other sourdough enthusiasts.
Oh yeah, there are.
You're probably following them on Instagram now. And
well, just only one. I've allowed myself one. Because you know what? I'll just check. Yeah. Well, and my takeaway from this conversation is our next time that we're on Zoom together, all my background is going to be is just stacked loaves of bread. That's it. Just everywhere you look, bread. Maybe just my head will stick out over the end of one, and that will be all there is.
Some of the other benefits that I've felt as far as some of my hobbies is like I can't go run on a treadmill. Like I can't exercise unless it's like has a more like activity around it.
Yeah.
Like I don't like walking on a treadmill. I don't like just going and doing the machines at the gym or whatever. But playing tennis, like I can do that. Like obsessively.
Yeah.
But so physical, like it has like huge physical health benefits to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was just reflecting. One of the hobbies that I was really into was running for a long time. I ran 2 marathons. I ran several half marathons. But I'll tell you something. I couldn't run 4 miles or 1 mile if I didn't have a race impending.
The goal, right?
The goal.
You needed that. Yeah. You needed the camaraderie of the event, and you needed the whole thing around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And also met a lot of friends through that too. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. And when people say, well, I don't really have a hobby, it's like, I bet you do. You just aren't really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it would be really fun to explore something because it's a great outlet. It's a great emotional outlet. I love having hobbies. I love being obsessive about something like this. I just love it. Like, I'm not exaggerating. There are times during the week where I'm up at 4:00 in the morning because I'm on my last proof of a loaf. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous how all in I am right now. It is insane, but I'm having a good time about it, and I'm making fun of it because it is funny. It is funny.
It's such a great example about how passion is such a fun and motivating thing to be part of, right?
Totally.
I think it's really easy to kind of like lose some passion around things and maybe even life a little bit when you're kind of like slogging it out through the hard seasons of life.
Yeah.
And hobbies have like a really amazing way to like reignite that
I
passion.
agree. Yeah, I agree. That's fun.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to whatever your next hobby is. Can you make it something I can eat, please? Can you go
I'll get right on that
making phase, please?
Oh, I've already done that too.
Oh no, I missed that one.
That's okay. Sometimes I cycle back.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.